2018 Chevrolet Equinox car review. General Motors may be building small crossovers for a lot more than a decade now, possesses sold in excess of 2 million Chevrolet Equinoxes because the model was introduced for 2005. But despite that apparent success, the Equinox happens to be a bit too big, a tad too thirsty, and a little too cheaply built to truly penetrate the guts of the market, the spot that the best-selling Honda CR-V, Toyota RAV4, Nissan Rogue, and Ford Escape reside. With the all-new, third-generation Equinox, GM finally has figured out what matters in this particular contentious segment. Fully modern and right-size as an alternative to oversize, this redesigned 2018 Equinox strikes us because the first Chevy crossover that might truly make inroads resistant to the segment leaders. Honey, I shrunk the Equinox. It depends on the new Equinox's smaller and lighter body. Compared featuring its predecessor, the 2018 model's wheelbase is 5.2 inches shorter, its length shrinks by 4.7 inches, and its curb weight is reduced using a claimed 400 pounds. Whereas the outgoing, second-generation Equinox shared a lot of its underpinnings with all the original model dating right back to 2005, that one truly is capital new throughout, with significantly higher torsional rigidity than before. Indeed, the modern Equinox soaks in bumps with nary a quiver throughout the cabin. There's remarkably little body roll along with the ride is expertly damped, with well-controlled wheel motions, no sensation of body float. Road and wind noise are impressively hushed, something which two of well-known small crossovers, the CR-V and also the Mazda CX-5, battle with. Combine the Equinox's overall a sense of solidity featuring its nicely weighted, accurate steering and firm, progressive brake pedal, plus it adds up to impressive dynamic capabilities. Needs more oomph. With such solid and composed handling, it's unfortunate that the standard powertrain isn't more eager. The turbo 1.5-liter inline 4 makes a decent number of low-end torque, though the lazy 6-speed automatic doesn't make the most in the output. The transmission is keen to shift into higher gears, presumably to profit fuel economy for the EPA test cycle, which will be more tolerable should the downshifts weren't so sluggish when more power is requested. The little four-cylinder also seems buzzier and much less refined as opposed to in the Malibu sedan, likely because it's working harder to relocate this heavier crossover. Manual shifting capability is possible within the transmission's L setting, but they can be operated only by an awkwardly placed toggle switch atop the tool's lever. Paddle shifters aren't available. Luckily, an even more powerful, optional turbocharged 2.0-liter coupled with a newer 9-speed automatic transmission arrives in 34 months, and yes, it should mitigate these concerns. A 1.6-liter diesel four-cylinder also joins the menu later in 2010, promising an outstanding 40 miles per gallon for the highway. The 1.5-liter's fuel economy numbers 28 miles per gallon combines for front-drive models and 26 miles per gallon with all-wheel drive are above average to the class, although its EPA's falls some mpg short in the CR-V's optional 1.5-liter turbo. Engine stop-start, a fuel-saving feature within few competitors, is standard around the Equinox, and yes, it's one of several smoothest and least obtrusive of such systems we've sampled, a valuable thing, taking into consideration the only way to show it off is to go the shifter on the AL position. Sea of sameness. Compact crossovers aren't famous for design flourish, and also the Equinox's relatively nondescript exterior doesn't move the needle. We like its overall proportions, but competitors such since the Mazda CX-5 and also the Hyundai Tucson look more athletic and attractive to our eyes. The interior similarly places function over form. It'll look familiar to anyone who's been inside most recent Chevrolet Malibu or Cruze, and yes, it's useful and well organized, in case a little stayed. The topmost premier trim level relies on a nice mixture of leather and soft-touch plastics, although cheaper materials creep in since you move around the price ladder and the less expensive LT Model L and LS trims are offered, but Chevrolet didn't get of those price leaders readily available for us to push. Two versions of Chevrolet's intuitive MyLink infotainment system are offered, a relatively basic 7.0-inch touchscreen as well as an optional, more pleasing 8.0-inch screen, but all models add the welcome standard feature of Apple CarPlay and Android Auto integration. Smarter packaging means that rear seat and cargo space are generally undiminished rapidly vehicles' smaller size. The rear seat is well-shaped, provides lots of space, and may recline slightly, although miss the earlier model's useful sliding rear bench. A removable false cargo floor and articulating C8 bottom cushions build a flush, uninterrupted cargo floor using the 60/40 split rear seatbacks folded. The now smaller Equinox does stop trying some space and overall usefulness for the CR-V, which got larger rolling around in its recent redesign and is particularly more capacious overall. Too much coin. The Equinox hits a snag whenever you examine its pricing. Yes, Chevrolet comes with a bargain basement, front Drivline L trim just for under $25,000, which lines up while using base prices of key competitors. But to have any active safety systems, or perhaps relatively common must-have features, for example automatic climate control and heated seats, you must shell out for that LT model and include a pricey option package, pushing the charge toward $30,000, and beyond in case you opt for that $1,750 all-wheel drive option. Some in the premier models we drove exceeded $35,000, plus the diesel and a couple .0T versions will be expensive still. Perhaps most crucial, equivalently equipped CR-Vs and CX-5s are thousands less, so unless Chevrolet is likely to offer heavy incentives in the get-go, the Equinox's value equation looks weak. Given the less stellar previous Equinox models, Chevrolet will face an uphill battle convincing Toyota, Honda, and Ford faithful to sign up the boaty fold, particularly if they have to pay more for your Chevy. But the brand new Equinox represents this kind of big advance relative to its predecessors that it's certainly worth those buyers creating a look.